No.
You have 10 minutes.
Thanks, Corla. And Minister, thank you for your contribution. I listened to it earlier in my office, and thank you for waiting for the debate. First of all, can I say, Minister, that I am supportive of your stance and the government's stance on the need to maintain the best possible relationship with the UK, because regardless of what happens at the end of this year, that relationship will be ongoing. It's not just about January 1st, 2021. It's about January 2nd and January 3rd, 2021, 2022 and 2023. I believe that cool heads and measured responses, firm, unshakable and rooted in the knowledge that we are supported by the withdrawal agreement, the Northern Ireland Protocol, which, as you rightly emphasised earlier, is upheld even in the event of a no-deal Brexit. We are supported by the EU and the US, where many senior politicians, Nancy Pelosi, Richard Neal, Joe Biden, have given their support to upholding the Good Friday Agreement. So I think that our strength comes from the agreements we have negotiated between the EU and the UK, with significant input from Dublin and the European Parliament. And our strength is firmly rooted in the support of our EU and international colleagues. And that's why I believe responses have to be considered, because verbal onslaughts will serve little purpose except widen gaps and undermine our future relationships with the EU. Governments come and go, but relationships are between people and business, and they should not be damaged by either hasty or ill-chosen words. Yes, there's criticism within the UK from former Prime Ministers, but they are family. We are neighbours. We are in a different position to the UK. We should play to our strengths and not play their games. And I think that's what the government is doing, and I support it. But now, Minister, none of that takes away from the critical juncture at which we find ourselves, and of course, which is exacerbated by the recent internal market bill. My time is limited, so I'm going to make 3 points and pose a number of questions to you. And if you don't have time to answer them today, which you probably won't, if written answers could be provided. First of all, the issue of the UK land bridge has been raised by many deputies, and I won't repeat their words. But I strongly agree with the concerns raised around the absolute need to increase direct sailings to the EU, and not just to the French ports, but also to ports in Northern Europe, like Antwerp or Hanover. And has any thought been given, Minister, to using direct sailings from Northern Ireland to Northern European ports? And if so, what progress has been made? Dublin Port is very important, but Rosslare and, to a lesser extent, Waterford and Cork have a significant role to play. One point I think needs to be considered is not just the number of sailings, but the turnaround time. For example, if ships have to sail by Rosslare on their way to Dublin, that's an extra 1 to 2 hours each way, which significantly adds to turnaround time. So we need to take a regional view, both from the perspective of expediency and efficiency, but also from the perspective of serving exporters and importers throughout the country. My second concern is around the sheep and beef sector, which is of national importance, but is especially critical in the border regions. And of course, it underpins much of the rural economy. 250,000 tonnes of beef go from Ireland to the UK every year. Any imposition of tariffs would totally undermine that trade. It would collapse the market. So, 2 or 3 questions. First of all, the UK exports 100,000 tonnes of beef to the EU. In the event of a disorderly Brexit, the UK will not be able to export significant amounts of beef to the EU. And you're also probably very aware that the British beef industry are pushing their government to cut down on imports from Ireland and Botswana and Poland under the guise of meeting their climate targets. So either or both of the above scenarios could unfold. So in those circumstances, what plans or preparations have we in place to fill that potential gap for beef in the EU market? Minister, I also believe that in the awful event of the imposition of WTO tariffs, and I want you to confirm this for me, are there significantly less tariffs on live exports to the UK or Northern Ireland than there are where the animals are slaughtered and then exported as cuts of meat? So if you could verify that for me, and if so, have we looked at the opportunities that that might present? Now, I'm aware that we lose significantly on added value in those circumstances, but just as a stopgap measure, have we considered it? And I suppose my other question is, we have put in support such as the Beam scheme and the beef finisher pandemic payments, but the estimated losses due to COVID and Brexit up to now are 273 million in this sector. So while I know it's not your direct responsibility, nonetheless Brexit has a significant impact on that, and I want to make a strong plea for further supports here. Now, in regard to the sheep sector, there is a significant export trade north-south. In fact, I've been told that every ewe in Northern Ireland would have to have 3 lambs to account for all of the sheep that travel north-south across the border. If the British government don't adhere to the rules on a level playing field, and so far they have not come forward with their proposals, but around food standards, animal health, SPS regs, etc., are you confident that we can ensure that Ireland does not become a backdoor into the EU? And it's important to remember that that includes us as well, for UK sheep meat and indeed any other food products that do not adhere to these standards. And also, Minister, if you could clarify what is likely to happen to all of that sheep meat that we import from New Zealand, given that the tonnage of sheep meat agreed was based largely on imports to the UK. What has been put in place to deal with that? Now, my final issue refers to the day-to-day nitty-gritty business of exporting and importing goods, and the many Irish companies, large and small, who will have to manage that process. Now, unfortunately, I think that COVID has overshadowed the Brexit message. I understand why. And businesses are, in many cases, so shell-shocked by the impact of COVID that some, at least, and often the smaller ones, are just hoping against hope that things will work out. But just like our message around COVID shouldn't frighten people but inform them, I think we need to strengthen that approach around Brexit and step up our communications and, in certain cases, our support to businesses, because Brexit preparedness is paramount. Now, I've spoken to many businesses, some of them who are Brexit ready as they can be, and others less so. In particular, one business alerted me to the situation around the exporter and importer of record. This means, let's say, the exporter has to take responsibility for the actual movement of the goods, the clearance of customs, paperwork, VAT payments, tariff payments, etc. And that requires cooperation between sellers and buyers in Ireland and the UK. If somebody is importing from the UK, the same issues apply. And a lot more work needs to be done here. And I'm asking, whatever extra structures or systems are needed, Minister, that they would be put in place, because the information I'm receiving suggests there are gaps here and in the UK, especially on lack of knowledge on both sides of the supply chain. And finally, state agencies have played a very positive role here, but it's the granular detail of Brexit. And my messages are that greater preparedness is needed to help to avoid a catastrophe for some of these businesses. Thank you.